There's a lot of drama around Giannis Antetokounmpo right now. Some of it is loud, some of it is jokes, and some of it might be very carefully calculated. On one hand, you've got Giannis joking about playing with Luka and the Lakers.
I told my agent, get me to Luka, no excuses.
On the other hand, you've got Giannis making last-second dunks in a game that was already won to show he cares for the Bucks and will give them all his effort till the very end. He even went on to take a very serious tone when a journalist tried to get his response to all the trade talk recently.
I'm here. I'm here. Don't ask me that question. I'm here. It's disrespectful towards myself and my teammate. I wear that jersey every single day. Disrespectful towards the organization, my coaching staff, myself, and all the people that work hard for me to come out here and say, I don't want to be here.
So which one is real? Because here's the thing about Giannis. People still think he's just this humble, goofy superstar who says whatever comes to mind. But Giannis isn't dumb. He's actually incredibly smart. And more importantly, he understands leverage. What if the jokes aren't jokes? What if the loyalty talk isn't reassurance? And what if all of this noise from the media, scouts, insiders, even Giannis himself, is part of a slow, deliberate message? So, why are trade talks even happening? Back in December 2025, Shams Charania reported that Giannis and his agent were already having conversations with the Bucks about his future. And Shams made it clear this was expected to be addressed in the coming weeks before the February 5th trade deadline. That timing matters. When that report came out, Milwaukee was 10-13. They had lost 8 of their last 10 games, and that stretch was frustrating everyone inside the organization. The front office, the coaching staff, the players, Giannis included. One source, with direct knowledge of the situation, described it as the writing being on the wall unless something dramatically changed with the season. And this wasn't a sudden shift. During training camp, Giannis openly acknowledged the temptation of joining another team. He reiterated his commitment to Milwaukee, but he also said something that stuck, that it would be human to change his mind. That's not something a superstar says casually. Then, ESPN reported that over the offseason, Giannis explored external options and was open to playing for one team outside Milwaukee, the New York Knicks. Sources described it as an exclusive negotiating window that lasted several weeks in August. That window is now closed, but the fact it existed at all tells you these conversations have been happening quietly for a while. And the on-court product has only fueled it. The Bucks endured their worst 7-game losing streak early in the 2025-26 season. Right now, they sit 11th in the Eastern Conference at 15-20. That's not a blip. That's direction. Things unraveled even more when Giannis missed 14 games with a calf strain. Milwaukee went 3-11 without him. Then he returned on December 27th against Chicago, and the team immediately stabilized. They are 3-1 since his return. His value couldn't have been clearer. So when you connect all the dots, this stops feeling like media-driven drama. It starts to feel like pressure building inside the organization. And that's why the trade talk hasn't gone away. Because no matter how messy things feel around Milwaukee, Giannis as a player hasn't slipped at all. Individually, he's still elite. He's averaging 29 points, 10 rebounds, and nearly 6 assists a night, while shooting an absurd 63.7% from the field. He leads the Bucks in both scoring and rebounding, and at 6'11", he's still overwhelming games on both ends of the floor. Nothing about his play suggests decline, and that's why this situation is so delicate. Giannis isn't a star on the back half of his career trying to chase relevance. He's a 2-time MVP, a Finals MVP, and a Defensive Player of the Year who is still very much in his prime. He changes the geometry of the court. Offensively, he collapses defenses in a way very few players ever have. Defensively, he covers ground, protects the rim, and cleans up mistakes. Every possession bends a little because he's on the floor. That's what teams would actually be trading for. Not just numbers, not just highlights, but a player who guarantees relevance the moment he walks into your building. And that's also why the price would be historic. Any team serious about Giannis isn't talking about one good young player and a couple picks. They're talking about multiple core pieces, future draft control, and the kind of asset haul that resets a franchise overnight. From Milwaukee's side, that matters just as much. If you move a player like this, you don't do it unless you're getting clarity in return. a direction, a future you can actually sell. And for Giannis, team success still sits above everything else. Individual dominance only goes so far. At this stage of his career, it's about whether the situation around him can realistically get back to championship level. That's the tension at the heart of all of this. He's still good enough to be the best player on a title team. The question is whether that team can still be Milwaukee. Once you move past the headlines, this is where things actually get complicated. The first piece is Giannis's contract. He's guaranteed through the 2026-27 season with a player option for 2027-28. That detail changes everything, because even without a no-trade clause, that player option gives him real leverage. Any team trading for him has to ask a simple question before pulling the trigger. Is he staying? No one is emptying their entire future unless they feel confident Giannis will commit long-term. And that effectively gives him a voice in where he ends up, whether it's said publicly or not. From Milwaukee's side, this puts pressure on the front office. The Bucks have to evaluate where they really are. Right now, they're struggling, injuries have piled up, the standings are unforgiving. And around the league, there's a growing belief that their championship window might already be closing. Bucks GM John Horst can't afford to let a generational player walk for nothing. If this does move toward a trade, the expectation inside the league would be a historic return, something that clearly resets the franchise, either for a quick retool or a full rebuild. Then there's draft capital. A Giannis trade isn't just expensive, it's restrictive. You're likely talking about 5 or more unprotected first-round picks plus real young talent. That immediately shrinks the market. Teams without liquid draft assets, like the Knicks or Spurs, would struggle to make a clean offer unless multiple teams get involved. And then there's Giannis himself. Even without formal control, his preferences matter. Reports have already linked him to specific destinations, including New York. Whether that list is short or fluid, teams are paying attention. If Giannis signals he's only open to a few places, the entire market tightens. Milwaukee would also be looking closely at the type of return. The ideal package likely includes an established high-level player, someone who can carry real responsibility, paired with a mountain of picks. That's how you justify moving someone like this. Finally, there's the risk factor. Giannis just turned 31. His game is physical, high usage, relentless. And while he's still dominant, recent injury scares like the calf strain don't go unnoticed. Teams have to balance the upside against the reality that this is a massive bet on both performance and health. It's about timing, leverage, money, and whether everyone involved is ready to live with the consequences. Once you narrow the league down to teams that actually have motivation, assets, and a reason to swing this big, the list gets pretty short. Let's start with the one everyone jokes about, but can't fully dismiss: the Los Angeles Lakers. This deal is built almost entirely on volume and flexibility. Milwaukee gets Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, Dalton Connect, 4 first-round pick swaps, and a 2031 first-round pick. No Austin Reeves, which is where most people immediately push back. But Reeves is a free agent in 2026, and there's no guarantee he wants to stick around for a rebuild. What this deal lacks in star power, it makes up for in draft exposure. Those swaps matter if the Lakers age out, and a 2031 first could be extremely valuable by the time Giannis is nearing 40. On top of that, Milwaukee gets a lot of movable contracts they could flip later, plus a young shooter in Connect to carry into the next phase. For the Lakers, the basketball part barely needs explanation. Luka, Giannis, LeBron, and Reeves would give them one of the most playmaking heavy cores the league has ever seen. With Luka creating advantages, Giannis could get easier looks than he's seen in years. Next up, the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta is quietly one of the more interesting fits. In this framework, Milwaukee gets Trae Young, Zachary Resurfacing, and 3 first-round picks. Atlanta gets Giannis. The Hawks already found a tougher defensive identity after Trae's injury. Adding Giannis would fully commit them to that shift. A lineup built around Giannis, Jalen Johnson, and Dyson Daniels would be massive, switchable, and punishing defensively. For Milwaukee, this deal checks more boxes. Trae gives them an offensive engine who still holds trade value. Resurfacing gives them a high upside wing to develop. And that 2026 pick is especially interesting. since it carries lottery odds tied to both the Pelicans and Bucks. If Milwaukee is forced into a reset, starting it with premium draft positioning in a loaded class matters. Then there is the New York Knicks. This one keeps coming up for a reason. The Knicks don't have a ton of draft capital after the Bridges and Towns trades, but they've repeatedly been linked as Giannis's preferred destination. That alone changes negotiations. The framework centers on Karl Anthony Towns, Miles McBride, Pacome Dadier, multiple pick swaps, and second-rounders. It's not the biggest offer on paper, but Giannis is an obvious talent upgrade, and the idea of Brunson and Giannis running pick and rolls would warp defenses immediately. For Milwaukee, Towns gives them a movable asset. He may not be the centerpiece long-term, but flipping him later could bring back additional picks or young players. And those far-out swaps in 2030 and 2032 could quietly become valuable. Up next are the San Antonio Spurs. This might be the most fascinating basketball fit of them all. Giannis next to Victor Wembanyama would be absurd. Length, defense, rim pressure, and flexibility on both ends. It would instantly pull the Spurs into the present and accelerate the Wemby timeline. Milwaukee would push hard for elite young talent here. A deal centered on Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, Dylan Harper, plus future firsts, gives the Bucks both immediate contributors and a real prospect to build around. From a pure asset standpoint, this might be the cleanest package. From a league perspective, it creates a problem no one wants to deal with. And finally, the Golden State Warriors. This is the legacy swing. Any Giannis deal to Golden State almost certainly starts with Draymond Green. That alone would signal a massive shift for the franchise. Alongside him, Milwaukee would get Jonathan Kuminga, Brandon Pujemski, Moses Moody, and 3 first-round picks. Draymond wouldn't be a long-term piece for the Bucks, but his contract could be rerouted. The real value is in the young core. Kuminga, Pujemski, and Moody give Milwaukee multiple development paths, plus more picks than some other frameworks. For Golden State, this does 2 things. It gives Steph Curry a real chance at a 5th ring, and it hands the franchise a post-Steph face to build around. Which team do you think has the best chance of landing Giannis? Let me know in the comments below. So when would a Giannis trade actually happen? Recently, he was asked directly about the trade rumors. His response was sharp. He called the question disrespectful and made it clear he's focused on playing basketball, not speculating about his future.
I'm here. I'm here. Don't ask me that question. I'm here. It's disrespectful towards myself and my teammate. I wear that jersey every single day. Disrespectful towards the organization, my coaching staff, myself, and all the people that work hard for me to come out here and say, I don't want to be here.
On the surface, that sounds like a shutdown. But when you listen closely, it's not really a denial. It's Giannis drawing a line around timing. He's saying, this isn't the moment. Not that it's impossible, and around the league, that distinction is being noticed. There's a growing belief among executives and scouts that nothing happens during the season. One Eastern Conference scout told ESPN that if Giannis waits until the summer to make a move, he holds maximum leverage over his future. That's when teams have flexibility. Cap sheets reset. Draft picks are defined. Pressure shifts to the front office. A Western Conference scout was even more blunt. They don't see Milwaukee trading him in season at all. Mid-season trades are chaotic. You're limited by cap mechanics, you're limited by roster construction, and for a player of this magnitude, you want clarity. You want time. You want the ability to negotiate from strength instead of urgency. From Giannis's perspective, waiting does 2 things. It keeps the Bucks competitive in the present, and it puts the responsibility back on the organization. If the season ends without real progress, the message is already understood without him ever having to say it out loud. From Milwaukee's side, the offseason is where you protect yourself. You can canvass the league properly, you can demand commitment from teams before sending him out, and you can avoid the optics of panic. So despite all the noise, the jokes, the quotes, the reactions, this still feels controlled. If a Giannis trade happens, it likely doesn't happen in the heat of the season. It happens quietly, deliberately, and on a timeline that gives him the most say over what comes next. This is why the Giannis situation feels different from the usual superstar drama. He's always been comfortable leaning into the goofy image. The jokes, the smiles, the offhand comments that make him feel approachable. That version of Giannis is real, but it's not the whole picture. Because when you line everything up, the timing of the comments, the offseason exploration, the way he talks about loyalty without fully closing doors, the way he shuts down questions when it suits him, it all feels deliberate. Giannis understands leverage. He understands how the league works. And he understands that sometimes the strongest message is the one you don't spell out. He doesn't need to demand a trade publicly. He doesn't need to create chaos. By staying present, staying productive, and letting the situation speak for itself, he keeps control. Over the Bucks, over potential suitors, over his own future. If Milwaukee turns this around, he can stay and say he never wavered. If they don't, the groundwork is already there, and no one will be surprised. That's the balance he's walking. So maybe the jokes aren't just jokes. Maybe the loyalty talk isn't a promise. And maybe Giannis isn't playing dumb at all. He's just playing the long game. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more NBA conversations like this, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps, and I appreciate the support.